So my life in Dominica, as I settled into a life with a new stepfather, being with my mother again, and being with my brothers and my sister part of the time, was good. Was a, if was a good life. Once I settled into school, stopped trying to run away, and start getting the good conduct medal. And it was a very free life, I was an outdoor tomboyish child, so climbing trees and going to the rivers, jumping off rocks into the pools, all of that kind of stuff, going up for treks up to the estates and on the donkey, all of that good life, and having friends, right? So I played with my brother's friends, 9, 10, we started to have crushes on my brother's friends, and and hoping they would take notice of me, stuff like that,
Of course.
And of course, we did things like playing spin the bottle.
Right.
And you got to go and kiss the person who the bottle spins to, right? All that kind of fun, crazy stuff, right? And then, of course, so the first then was David going to England.
Oh, Patricia wasn't the first? David was the first to go?
Yeah, so Patricia was finishing off in Antigua, but she didn't finish very long. So she came back to Dominica, somewhere there between my 8th and 9th birthday. She came back to Dominica and went to the convent with me. We used to walk to the convent together. And so then the first real big thing was David leaving for England. And he got his first long pants and all that kind of, all these things, made was a big thing. And he left by boat. Didn't know when we were going to see him again. I didn't see him again until he was 15, maybe. So I would have been 11, which was in Trinidad. But that was his departure from Dominica, and I don't think he ever went back. Right.
He would have been in a live-in school, right? A boarding school?
Yes. So he went to Oxford to school, to St. Edward's, which I think he actually sent his boys there at one point. So he must have thought it was a good school. And he would board during the holidays with the vicar, I think, and his family. As I said, then after that, it was the 3 of us, not for very long, and June, of course, which we were all delighted with this baby. At 9 years old, I pretty well love to stroll, the pram with her and do all of that kind of stuff. And so did Patricia. So I think my mother had good help. Now, one of the things, as I said, like Arthur Bell really liked, like Christmas was a big thing. And we got lots of presents. And I remember sitting with the pillowcase and opening the presents and putting them all in. Definitely education was important, of course, with my mother. So schooling was I made sure I did my homework and all that good stuff. Yeah. Definitely felt like I had a real family, and we were all together and we were one family. So that was good at that point. As I said, apart from maybe people's remarks about that it was so good for Arthur Bell to take us on, which doesn't make you feel like you're a treasure. It makes you feel like you're a burden, right? Which I guess it was huge when you think about it, I guess.
For kids, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So David's gone, and then we get the transfer to Trinidad. Okay, that whole thing had to be arranged of going to Trinidad. And it was decided at that point, Patricia had to stay and finish up. So
Patricia.
she did not move with us. She stayed with a family that lived right by us. They were actually 2, 3 old ladies. One was my godmother, but she stayed with them and finished at the convent. So we left Dominica without her in the little goose seaplane and went to Barbados, and then overnighted in Barbados, and then went to Trinidad. So it was Mom, Arthur, Michael, me, and June. So when we got to Trinidad, the first house we stayed in, and not for very long, we stayed in that house, which was right by the old golf course in Trinidad, in Maraval.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember the golf balls would come into our yard and we picked them up. And then it was a matter of getting us into schools and so on. So I think I remember my mother going through, because I had to sit an entrance exam to get into the school. So they wanted to send me to Bishop Anstey High School, which was basically an Anglican school and one of the, private school, one of the better schools, so to speak, right? Anyway, so I did go there. And Michael went to the boys' school, QRC, which was right around the Savannah. So when Patricia did join us in Trinidad, she did go for a very short while to the Bishop Anstey High School. I don't know if she had to finish up something or what. And then I think she did a typing course and then she went to work. We stayed in that house just for a couple of months, and then we got this house to rent. And I guess we were paying the rent. So it was what we could afford. So you know where Helen lived? Helen Ashe,
Yeah.
right across the road of Strathclyde Avenue there was a house, and then behind it was a sort of annex. We lived in the annex. That's what we got. It was small, but we fitted in and whatever. Don't think Patricia was there yet. So it was just Michael and me and June.
Right.
And in the big house was the family who owned the house and the annex. They had 4 boys. That was great. Played with those boys again. But the father, and I'm only hearing this in snippets because I'm a child, right? I'm not supposed to hear anything.
Right.
But I think I used to hear the cries. Anyway, he used to beat his wife.
Oh.
Yes, so this family, my parents knew what was going on. And
Right.
I think the wife, my mother befriended the wife.
Oh.
They helped her escape with all
Really?
her children. Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
they lent her the money, bought plane tickets for her. She had some family in Barbados, and they bought the plane tickets for her to get to Barbados, and she disappeared. And I learned afterwards my mother drove her to the airport.
Wow, insane.
Insane, huh?
Oh, because you're living on that property.
You live in she was here, and they became friends. My mother befriended her, and she opened up, and she was pretty desperate. She had 4 boys.
Yeah.
And he was just like, really, he was crazy.
Right.
I think he was crazy. I did hear that she went to Barbados, and the family in Barbados helped her migrate to Australia.
Oh, wow.
Oh, she was getting very fast. She figured if he would catch up to her in Barbados, she had to go very far.
Yeah.
So that was the end. And she sent back the money when she was able to get the money. She sent back the money for that plane ticket and everything. She was a good person. So then, of course, he's by himself in this big house. He's not going to stay there.
Right.
So we got to rent that house. He didn't know, of course, his tenants were the ones that got his wife away. We rented the house, And then he rented the little annex to another family who had a daughter my age. So we became good friends. We didn't go to the same school, but we were all good friends. And then next door to me on the other side lived the Kelshaws. They had 2 daughters that were just a bit younger than me. So we all, again, hung out. I hung out more with girls. And by then, my brother Michael was sort of growing up. He's into his cricket, didn't really want to hang around with me. Yeah, so we're talking getting into his teens. And yeah, he was definitely big on cricket. That was his game, as you know, right to the end. Life in Trinidad, it was good. I was doing okay at school, had friends. It was a nice little neighborhood. Well, you know, Strathclyde Avenue. The house that Helen owns, there was an old lady living in that house who obviously had dementia. But we used to love to go. We didn't go into the house, but we'd go by the window and chat with her. And we'd kind of laugh because, you know, she would think the radio was alive and there was people in there and all that kind of thing. You know, my first introduction to dementia. And they had a big flamboyant tree in that yard too, which we love to climb. I love to climb. We were right into doing shows, dressing up.
Okay.
Yeah, and handstands and cartwheels and all the acrobatics. I really wanted the Kelshaw girls went to ballet, and I wanted to do that, but that was not in the affordables. You know, still did our own little shows. And then behind that, at the end of that road, at the end of Strathclyde, there was a kind of little ravine, and then there was a big hillside and a few shacks up on that hillside. And that was our adventures. We'd go roaming up the hillside. Was safe in those days, I think. Well, we never got into any trouble or anything like that. Maybe chased off a bit. Yeah, so it was just all those adventures. Walking, used to walk down those canals. I remember walking in the canals. You know, it's like a big pipe, really. If they had had a gush of water, we'd probably been in trouble, rather than walk the roads.
Of
That's
course.
what
It's
we'd
probably
walk.
safer, actually, because they were really storm canals.
We'd walk down and then come up where we knew the shop was and going by our, you know, salt crews and all that stuff. So it was a good life.
You have an allowance or something that you were able to buy your own stuff, or do you remember?
Yes. I think not a big one, but just enough to be able to buy things like that. Even at school, to be able to buy from the tuck shop or whatever, little goodies. Of course, June, she was 2.5, I was 11.5 when she got sick. So those are the years from 10 to 11.5. She just suddenly got really high fever, started to have convulsions and very frightening.
Yeah.
And they, of course, they took her, you know, to the doctors. So everything Trinidad is private because the hospitals kind of had the reputation, you go in there and you don't come out.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, the doctor that they took her to, I don't know what tests he did, but he said she had meningitis. She didn't.
Oh.
And she was getting worse. And that's when they made the decision that for her to go to the States. Mom and Arthur took her to the States. They parked us out. I stayed next door with the Kelshaws, who had the 2 girls that were a bit younger than me. Patricia, funny enough, went to the Nags
Oh.
family. So there was a Nags family in Cascade, so nearer going towards Port of Spain, further down from us. That would have been the Lawford Naggses, so your dad's uncle. Their children would have been Peter Naggs. I don't know if you remember Peter Naggs at all. Right, so Peter and Louisa, he was just married, there, and had started his family. But they took in working girls, looking for a place to board. Patricia went there because her friends, the Lockhart girls, were there too. Patricia and Marion. She was, very comfortable to go there. And Michael went to this English family who we really didn't know. I don't know why they sent him there. Maybe they offered or whatever. He, and I said he used to play cricket, but he started fainting on the field and found out that they weren't even feeding him properly. So they weren't looking after him. So the big decision then was we would go back to the house with Patricia being in charge.
Oh, wow.
I know, she was 17 then. We were in the house. She had the soda water bottle under the bed. I remember that. That was a weapon.
Oh.
And if we heard noises during the night, the three of us would crawl through the house. It was a funny kind of house. There were 2 bedrooms on one side and a bathroom, and then the big living room, dining room, kitchen in the middle, and then 2 bedrooms. So we occupied, I shared a room with her, and Michael had the other room. We all lived on the one side of the house. If we heard noises on the other side of the house, we had to go and inspect with the soda water bottle. But of course, and she had the car.
Oh,
And she
wow.
had a driver's license. We did have a lot of fun. She'd take us to the drive-in. My schoolwork went down the tubes. But, she did her best.
Yeah.
So we stayed for a while, and then Mom was pregnant with John when she went, to the States. So she couldn't travel. She had to stay. And June was, they were treating her. She was in and out of hospital, the whole thing. So, and then of course, Arthur had to go back to work.
Oh.
So he was only getting so much leave, So he came back, and then, I don't know, we kind of did what I wanted to do, And Patricia, at that point, she decided that she was going to Canada.
Oh.
And I forgot about the part when I missed the whole part when David came out. Yeah, that was before June got sick. But it just came out for holidays. And of course, he was big and grown up, and all the girls loved him because he was good looking and, had all the English charm, right? But it was good. At least we got to see him. So, and then he went back to England. So he's back in England. Trisha decides she's going to Canada. That wasn't so great for me because I depended on her. I was just, as I said, 11 going on 12 at that age. I do remember she, sat down and talked to me about my periods because nobody had ever done anything like that, and left me pads in case. As it is, I didn't start my periods till I was about 14, so didn't have to go through that. It was very lonely after she left because Michael was with his friends. I did have my friends and so on. I don't think it was very long. So she left, and then it was the whole decision then was made that we were going to go to England, but we went to the States first. That was the big thing. My mother's brother, Kenneth, married Ione. Remember Ione?
Yeah.
So they lived in Canada with their children.
Oh, so that was the connection.
So that was the connection. I just think she thought, that would be a great thing. to go to Canada. I didn't know if she did shorthand and typing or what she did. Anyway, she had a little course or whatever. She was working at the time in Trinidad.
Right.
So she took off for Canada first, and then we had to pack up the house and the whole thing. And then we went to meet. My mother had like a little apartment, and we all went there. Didn't stay very long. It was maybe a month, just kind of sorting themselves out. We went by boat. We went on the Queen Mary from New York to Liverpool, England. Oh yes, John was born in the States in the meantime.
You know which state that was?
Where?
Which state John was born in? Northeastern?
So John was born in Washington.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, not Washington State. Yeah. Washington, D.C.
I thought it was east. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he was born there. So when we came up, John was born.
Right.
So we had a baby as well.
Who's your new brother?
Yes, another little one. I didn't go to school in the States or anything like that. It wasn't long enough. So it was just, we watched TV because we didn't really know a lot of people that knew the Gogies, and I guess we saw them. But, my mother was she'd been through a lot. It was very traumatic, and we just had to be good and quiet and not get
in the way, and
not get in the way. So I know we just watched a lot of TV, Michael and I.
It would have been different TV too, so it probably was.
Oh, we loved it, yeah. All the shows, all the game shows, everything. So Patricia was in Canada, and it was Mom and Arthur and June and John and Michael and myself on the boat sailing. I do remember I was really seasick.
Were you?
Yes. For the first few days, everybody was seasick, except John.
Because he was just a baby and didn't know.
Because he's just a baby. I guess babies don't get seasick, I was 12 by then and had my 12th birthday. It's really a lot of separation and a lot of going to new schools and starting over, trying to make friends and all that.